right? So in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Quiet. How difficult was that for anybody? Was it hard to breathe in for an entire 5 seconds
Yes.
and to breathe out for an entire 5 seconds?
Yes.
Yeah. It's tricky, but the entire point of doing that exercise is so your brain can slow down. And we do what we're supposed to do naturally, which is breathe, right? So I love starting off with that. So let's just keep going. So my birth name is Paige Gaines, but I go by Saint Jane. And in 2016,
Oh, the other one.
Here we go. Okay. In 2016, I started 911 St. Jane. At this very moment, I am a certified peer specialist, which means I get to go around and share my lived experience and educate individuals on mental health and the importance of it and how amazing it can be and how impactful it can be on your life and on success and on relationships and everything, like he said in the beginning. It was an awesome intro, by the way. Thank you. I don't have to say too much. But as of this moment, I live in Athens, Georgia. I work with a grant called the Garrett Lee Smith Grant, and that is for suicide prevention. I get to go around and train law enforcement and social workers and teenagers and librarians on how to deal with suicidal individuals, how to have that hard conversation, how to make suicide preventable. I believe in that. I believe in mental health. I believe in this whole mental health awareness that's going on right now. It may seem like a trend, but it's just important. It's very important. So how did I get here? I am 28 years old. That's still really difficult for me to accept. But I've been dealing with mental health challenges, gosh, going on 16 years, 18 years. I remember having my first panic attack. I was 10 years old and hated elementary school because of those lines. I could not stand the lines to go to the bathroom, the single file line. I didn't like them. Y'all remember those? Those lines, the bathroom, the art room. Didn't like them. And so we were in this line, and I was kind of sort of in the middle. And I remember my heart started beating fast. And I could hear it in my ears. And I could just feel it in my chest that tight. And my hands started to clench. And my thoughts started to go, are these kids behind me talking about me? Are the kids in front of me talking about me? I started to look around, and it felt as if the entire school was closing in on me. I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea if I could say, hey, teacher, I'm kind of freaking out right now. Can you help me? I didn't know. So I sat there, and she raised her hand and said, okay, come there. My hands got a little loose, my heart slowed down, and that was that. I had no idea what to call it. I was not able to go home and be like, Mom, this is what happened to me today. This is what it's called. That was my first experience with stigma. We had no language. We had no idea how to even communicate these feelings, right? So 2 years later, I was 12 years old in middle school, all these changes going on, all these uncomfortable spaces. Didn't like school then. I don't think I've liked it since. But being 12 years old, I was in a transition space. I was in a space in my life to where we were dealing with boys and mean girls and having to go through the hallways of class and the bells. It was a lot going on for me. And I had my second panic attack. I was sitting in my math class, and I never liked math. I actually had a teacher say, you'll never make higher than a C. I did do better than a C, just so y'all know. But I was sitting in my class, and I would always sit right at the back, close enough to the door, right? So if I did have a panic attack or whatever it was called at the moment, I could get up and leave and try to get some air. It just made me feel comfortable. And I remember sitting there with my homework, and he says, I need you to come up and do this problem. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my goodness, please no. So my heart starts beating really fast again. My hands clench up, and this classroom is closing in on me. This time, I really couldn't breathe. This time, I kind of started to sweat, and I wanted to cry. I wanted to cry. But again, I could not say, hey, teacher, this is what's going on with me. I didn't know what that looked like. That was my second time coming into contact with stigma. do we share what we're feeling, right? So about 6 to 9 months later, my anxiety grew into depression, and my depression grew into this serious place of isolation. I preferred being alone. I loved being alone. I was miserable in social settings. I did not look forward to homecoming. I did not like the social dances. I hated pep rallies. I was a miserable 12-year-old. I would write notes at home. When all the lights would go out and my family would be asleep, I used to write these little notes to my mother, my father, and my brother, and I'd say, thank you for everything that you've done, but I think I'm done. I've had enough. And month after month and day after day, as the time went by, I always had this thought of not really being here anymore. What would it look like? How comforting would it be if I went to sleep and never woke up again? Okay. Third time dealing with stigma. How do I talk about not wanting to live? Because my parents would say, you don't have no reason to be mad or sad. We do all the work, right? You say, Mom, I think I'm a little upset today. I cried at school and I don't feel like it. You're gonna feel like it, you're gonna get up and you're gonna go to school. That's what parents do, right? So how am I going to say, Mom, today I just don't feel like being alive? For the past 2.5 years, I've had anxiety and depression, but today I don't feel like being alive. So as mom and daughters do, we had a fight about what I don't even really remember. But she said, I'm tired of this, so I'm gonna go ahead and send you to your aunt's house. And when she said that, I said, this is my time. This is my time to actually make my attempt. This is my time to say goodbye. I was excited. I was excited because there was a space of relief that I had not had in years. What was it going to look like? I arrived in Tennessee, and my aunt actually was there for a moment and left. So I was in her home by myself, and I remember sitting on this edge of the bed. She had a small, twin-size bed. And I was sitting there, and I had my hands in my lap, and I said, okay, contemplating. What is this going to look like? I got up, I went to the bathroom, I closed the door. I looked at myself in this huge mirror and tried to come up with this plan. I began opening these drawers, and I found all this different over-the-counter medication. So Advil, ibuprofen, whatever I could get my hands on, I began to take pill after pill after pill after pill. And each one I took, I felt better. I did. I felt better. I felt a sense of relief. I knew that this was going to be over very soon. Unfortunately, I woke up. I woke up and people always say to me, were you happy? Were you happy to be awake? Were you happy to have a second chance at life? No, I was not. I was not happy, I was not excited. I wasn't waking up like, I can accomplish my dreams today. That is not it. And many survivors do not wake up happy. They wake up as miserable as they were when they had an attempt. That was my third time coming into contact with stigma. I now have this secret of, I have panic attacks, I'm depressed, and I try to take my own life. As a 12-year-old, how do I go through middle school and through high school without even talking about this? What does that look like? How am I getting up and smiling and going through my day and sitting through my classes? Were people around me aware that they know I seemed a little sad? Was that going on? These are all questions that I think about now, right? So say 10 years later, I'm 22 years old. And I am in college and I went to Georgia Southern. The rumors are true. It's very chaotic down there. It is. I should not have gone there, but that's where I was in school. And my first 6 to 9 months of being in college, I was sober. From every day forward after that, I was under the influence of something or another. Because I kept having this question, I just want to be happy. How am I going to be happy? I'm tired of feeling like this. How am I going to be happy? And I had my first drink. And I'm like, I'm feeling happy. I like this feeling. This feels good. I began smoking marijuana. I'm like, okay, this is what I've been looking for all these years. I've been so down and out. And I found these new coping skills at the moment that are making me happy. This is what my happiness looks like. And then that happiness turned into an everyday, all-day need. I had to have it. I had to have it to go to class. I had to have it to have conversations. I had to have it to be in a relationship, to be on a date. It was necessary. By the age of 22, I weighed about 85 pounds. I was a college dropout, and I was evicted from my apartment. I was traveling around, who knows where, off of people's couches, and I had to come back to Atlanta for who knows what. I don't really remember. By this moment, I was getting very little sleep, and I was basically out of it, blacked out, mentally just gone. No rest, no real food, and always under influence. It's gonna have you, not in the best headspace. And I recall my car breaking down in the middle of the road, never happened before. And I didn't know what to do, and I began having a panic attack. But at this moment, I was used to them, right? This is my everyday life. And something in me said, call somebody. And I called a friend of mine, and he says, look, you're gonna call your parents, or I will call 911. Please don't call an ambulance here. Like, don't do that. So I called my dad. I said, you know what? I really need you to come get me right now. He says, why are you even in Atlanta? You're supposed to be down in Georgia Southern. He had no idea I was a dropout, right? I said, I really, really need you to come get me right now. I told him where I was, and he speeds up. And the only thing I remember from that moment forward into the following day is he picked me up out of my car like this. And he laid me down in the back seat of his car, and we drove home. We walked in the door, and my mother, being the mother that she is, why is she in town? What is she doing here? I told that girl she should have done better in school. I told her she should have studied more and stopped partying. There was a lot more in life than partying, I told her. My dad looked and said, something's wrong. This isn't just her coming home, something is actually wrong. And they stood over me, and they're asking these questions. Why does she weigh so little? Where did our daughter go? What happened? What happened? What happened? What happened to our little girl? What are we supposed to do? And their tones turned into fear and a space of, I don't even know what this is called, stigma. My parents had no idea where to go. They had no idea who to call, if they could call a family friend to say, I think my daughter's mentally ill. Was that possible? How do they even talk about it? What is the language, again, that we use? 2 days later, I was admitted to Ridgeview Institute. Odd enough, I was so relieved. I got good sleep, got good food, and I got care that I needed. And a doctor sat in front of me and he said, you know what? You've been living with bipolar disorder. I'm like, thank goodness, somebody was telling me what is going on. Tell me more. This is when I began to get educated, right? Education beats stigma every time. He said, this is how you cope. These are your triggers. This is what your life is going to look like. In spite of what you may be going through, this is what you're capable of. I said, okay, cool. I left the hospital, I started going to therapy, start learning all these awesome coping skills, and I thought everything was going to be great. No, not really. I still had these bad habits, and I was still going through life stress. So relationships, money, work, everything we all can relate to, right? And being young and in our 20s, I still wanted to party. I still wanted to be social, but those were not my options. So 3 years within this diagnosing process, I found myself on my birthday saying, you know what, I'm a little depressed today. I could do a coping skill that I use, but I'd rather not. I think I'm gonna go out with my friends. I went out, I drank, and I found myself dead in a ditch. My car was straight in a ditch. Ran off the road. Boulder rocks all around me, and I tried to get out of my car, and the rock blocked me like this much. Because my first instinct was to run. Where I was gonna go, I'm not sure, but I wanted to run, I wanted to get out of there, and I wanted a little bit of freedom, so to say. That was taken away from me on my 25th birthday. I woke up in jail, I woke up in an orange suit, and I woke up sleeping on a steel bench. That had been my reality. So at 10 years old, my first panic attack. At 12 years old, I had an attempt on my life. At 22 years old, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. At 25, I was in jail. That's actually the cycle of many people that live with mental illness. That's what happens. But I defeated stigma, I was educated, and now the next thing I needed to learn how to do was to communicate, was to use the language that I had already been taught. So from 25 into the point where I'm at now, I built a business, right? I travel the world and the country to do this. I share my stories one-on-one with individuals that are suicidal. And they look at me and they see hope. And they look at me and they see not just a story, but a space of a woman that can communicate. Hey, today is not my best day. My mental health matters. I may need an extra 10 minutes on my lunch. I may need to sit outside and write in my journal a little bit. That's self-care. Putting yourself first is what mental health is. Being able to go to work, sit in a boring meeting, and not go crazy, that's like the power of mental health, right? Being able to just deal with everyday chaos, sitting in traffic and not becoming frustrated, that's healthy mental health. Being in a space of calmness, that's why we did our breathing exercise, so we can communicate and be together in one, right? All of this is so important. So again, stigma, education, and communication, right? And we all deserve to be happy. And that was always my question. And today I am very